Okay, this video is going to show the differences between the Gen 2 and Gen 1 mid-drive installations. So this is just going to cover the steps that are different from Gen 1. So here we have our motor system. Strap removed, so I've removed this bolt on the drive side, which holds the motor strap on the right side drive side of the bike. So first off, we are going to get the motor positioned, and we've got our motor pad pre-placed here, sticky foam tape on the top of the motor. So that's positioned so that it sits between the motor and the frame to prevent the motor from hitting the frame, basically. It provides some cushion and abrasion resistance. Alright, so that's roughly our position that we want here. So I'll get the strap oriented, and we'll just hold it like this, and we'll do it up loosely here. So I've got my bolt and washer on a 5mm driver. I install that just to hold it tight, or just to hold it, prevent it from falling for the moment. Alright, so that's just loose. Just make sure it's just snug enough there. And now we're going to want to install our bottom bracket. So this is the E-Rider torque sensing bottom bracket. It's got this adapter piece here, which allows it to sit in the left-hand motor plate without damaging the wire. So it's really important that this groove in the adapter gets lined up with the wire here, and that prevents, like I said, damage to the wire from it hitting the plate as you're screwing it into the frame. So to take this apart, we use a standard Shimano BB tool to loosen that lock ring. Pull that off, and everything basically just comes apart. And so we end up with our left and right hand cups. The right hand cup has been machined to fit the right hand drive side motor plate. And so this side obviously goes on the right, and this side with the wire goes on the left, remembering our plastic adapter here. As we all know, right side drive side is reverse thread, so installing that, we'll get that basically lined up but not tightened yet. Then we'll go around and install our non-drive side, making sure that this adapter stays in place as we're spinning it into the BB shell. This is the left-hand side bottom bracket cup, so that's installed. Our lock ring's in place there, protecting our wire passing through this hole, and then running up here, so it's on the inside of the plate, protecting it from sticks and rocks and whatever from damaging it, and then we'll plug it in to that connector next. Okay, we're back on the drive side of the bike. We've got our motor strap loose but installed. We've got our bottom bracket cups installed but loose as well. And so right now our motor can move up and down like this, which is not what we want. So there's 3 or 4 different lengths of motor strap that are included in the kit, as well as 2 different motor spacers. By messing around with the different lengths and motor spacer sizes, we can get a good close fit up against the frame with that soft spacer getting compressed. And what we're going to want to do now is take a quick clamp or some strap of some kind. This is my preferred method, and we're going to pull the motor up against the frame so that spacer there is getting compressed. So we want a decent amount of force on that, because what we want to do is take all of the slack out of this strap to make sure that there's no cover between the motor and the frame. And if you can't get the strap tight enough because the slot isn't long enough, then you'll need the next shorter size strap. Alright, so we'll tighten that down, making sure that the washers installed. The washer is key to prevent the strap from spinning as you're tightening the bolt. Tighten that down, and I'll get L shape on key to get that even tighter. And then pull off our quick clamp. Our motor should be nice and secure, and then we just need to go back and... Okay, now that we have the strap tightened up, we'll just want to take our bottom bracket tool and tighten our bottom bracket cups up. And we'll want to repeat that on the non-drive side. You guys can't see this, but I'm tightening the non-drive side up. Alright, now we'll install our BB spindle and our lock ring on the non-drive side. And this lock ring actually only needs to be about a little bit more than finger tight. So as I mentioned, we use this Shimano internal BB tool to snug it. So yeah, it's key not to over tighten this because it is preloading our bearing. So if you over tighten it, it puts too much force in the bearing. So I'll use this crank arm to hold the spindle still, and I'll just go barely snug with that, just using this tool with no leverage. Alright, so now that we've got our BB installed, our motor secure, we can install the freewheel assembly. So it's the freewheel chainring assembly, and that just installs with 4 countersunk screws into the torque sensor here. So line that up, take our Torx M5 screws, T25 driver, so those are just in there loose right now. As you can see, it's kind of hard to tighten it because the freewheel keeps spinning, so or the bottom bracket spindle keeps spinning. So we'll put on our left crank arm to help with that. And we'll take our torque wrench, T25 bit, set to 6 Newton meters. And torque each of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, now we can install our crank arms. So I'm going to install the left side. Let's put the crank bolt in. And right side, crank bolt. And our 8mm Allen key. And torque the left side. And put our chain back on. And next up is the motor chain. And this is designed to be the right length that you can just slip it over the sprocket without taking apart the chain or removing the motor or anything like that. And then for tensioning the chain, we take our tensioner here and 3mm driver, and we put this screw through the slot in the idler arm and then into the dowel bolt, or sorry, the dowel nut I should say. It's mounted there. And you may need to use a flathead screwdriver to get the dowel nut aligned so that the threaded hole lines up with where you're coming from with the screw. This idler tension screw has got Loctite pre-applied to it, so it shouldn't come loose. And this only needs to be tight enough, so that's probably a little too tight. This only needs to be tight enough to just take the slack out of your chain. If that's too tight, it's going to cause a lot of... Alright, so that's a little loose, I'll just tighten it back up a little bit. There, and then we can put our sprocket cover back on. Our 3mm driver as well. Alright, connect our display cable, and then we'll feed this. This is the torque sensor connector. We'll feed that over to the other side and plug in the torque sensor.